Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum, the new fascism. Now, I've talked about the WEF before, about Klaus Schwab before, but we're gonna get into some detail and try to figure out who really is Klaus Schwab and why are they pushing this agenda on the world. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store where I have I Will Not Comply t-shirts. So check those out as well. All right, let's talk about this news. Since founding the World Economic Forum in 1971, Klaus Schwab has grown his organization into arguably the most powerful entity on the planet. Yet most of the world's population has never even heard of Schwab or the WEF, despite the group's influence over global nations' elected leaders. Schwab, the WEF's founder and sole chairman, is the original international man of mystery. Despite Schwab openly gloating that he has world leaders in his pockets or that he instructs presidents and prime ministers on his agenda for their countries, very little is known about him. Basic information is available. Quote, he was born in Ravensburg, Germany in 1938, but almost nothing about the man behind the facts. In his leftist book titled Davos Man, How Billionaires Devoured the World, New York Times journalist Peter S. Goodman offers an insider's perspective on the doings of the rich and famous at the WEF's annual conference at Davos, Switzerland. Goodman has attended the event himself for the better part of a decade. And yet, in a book that is meant to be an expose on Schwab and his WEF, Goldman tells us little about Schwab beyond anecdotes. For example, quote, Schwab has frequently told his colleagues that he anticipates receiving a Nobel Peace Prize like the people he gathers annually in the Alps. Schwab is an exemplar of the force of pious words as prophylatic against the consequences of unsavory deeds. And the criticisms are mostly petty in nature. Quote, when a forum employee who was late for a meeting once pulled into Schwab's spot in the parking lot, aware that the boss was overseas, he caught wind of it and insisted that she be fired. It's not that these stories are meaningless, but Goodman's central criticism is one of elitism and hypocrisy, and these illustrate his thesis. But as far as expose material goes, it's pretty thin. When it comes to biography, Schwab is like a cardboard cutout. The outline of a man is there, but an enormous hole remains. Even so, all of this tells us something important about Schwab. His biography appears to be carefully guarded by an army of monitors. Consider the WEF's About Klaus Schwab webpage. It merely lists degrees, honors, books, and so on. Wikipedia, which loves to indulge rumors and speculations of every kind, is rather mum on Schwab. His entry is roughly 1,400 words, which is about the same word count as Screen Actors Guild President Gabriel Carter's page. George Floyd more than doubles Schwab at 3,100 words, while the fictional Mr. Bean gets 6,400 words. Wikipedia is a reflection of public interest rather than public importance. In that sense, it's more like Yelp than in Encyclopedia Britannica. Still, for a man who regularly meets with heads of state and expect to be treated like one, this is more than a little curious. Schwab, it seems, has managed to do what almost every drunk spring breaker has tried to do but couldn't: scrub something negative about themselves from the internet. Perhaps rubbing elbows with executives in big tech has its advantages. Most of what Google prioritizes in search results on the octogenarian is glowing. Uh, Negative press about Schwab and his agenda is often swept away by his allies in big tech and the media, and labeled conspiracy theories. USA Today, Newsweek, Reuters, and many others all ran predictable fact check stories on some of the so called conspiracy theories about Schwab. BBC seized upon the conspiracies as an opportunity to publish this bizarre defense of Schwab and his Great Reset agenda. In fact, whenever I talk about the Great Reset, I put it in the title in YouTube. They always put a Wikipedia thing on the bottom of it and say that it's a conspiracy theory and all this stuff. In their telling of it, it's all a rather benign attempt to create a better world. Nothing to see here, people. The BBC attempted to characterize all opposition to the globalist agenda as, quote, dangerous conspiracy theories that are linked to the MAGA world. Quote, believers spin dark tales about an authoritarian socialist world government run by powerful capitalists and politicians, a secret cabal that is broadcasting its plan around the world. In the hands of a diverse group of online activists, the Great Reset has been transformed from a call to encourage people to think about a sustainable future to a sinister plot against humanity. No, they only talk about depopulation. Either the BBC has never read Schwab, heard Schwab, or they are in the plot against humanity. Consider this Schwabism, quote, to achieve a better outcome in the post-pandemic era, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions. Every country, from the United States to China, must participate, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. If your neighbor said this, you write them off as a whack job. But according to The Hill, the Biden administration has expressed, quote, devotion to Schwab's plan. This is about more than putting paper and plastic in the right waste bin. It's nothing less than a total global overhaul. In an academic paper that inspires the goals of the WEF, apocalyptic warnings of every type emerge, global overpopulation most of all. The writers say it will be necessary for leaders to make, quote, appalling decisions in the future. Klaus Schwab is confident he and the elitist members of the World Economic Forum are the people for the job. But you know what type of appalling decisions they're talking about. I can't even say here because you know how they do. But let me know what you think about all this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news, because I'm putting out more articles there as well. So check that out. Until next time, peace.